Welcome to Therapy Explained, where we explain, demystify, and destigmatize mental health and mental health treatment. I'm your host, Deniss. I'm a licensed therapist, group practice owner, and mental health speaker and educator. Today we're going to be talking about the mindsets that can hurt your relationships and how couples therapy works to address these. But before we jump into the video, I want to talk a little bit about why I'm somewhere very different. If you're following me on IG or TikTok, you probably already know that I moved and this is my new space. Now, because it's a new space, I'm still trying to figure out where would feel the most comfortable and the most kind of like natural for us to have our conversations. So you might be seeing that I'm kind of migrating around the office right now, just while I find that space. But I also want to hear what you have to say about it. If you like this one compared to maybe a different one that you've seen, please let me know. I will probably also be using the community tab for us to vote on which space you like better. So after, I think I've only chosen 2 different places to do the conversations. So once that's been posted, or once those videos have been posted, I will put up a poll in the community space so that you can vote on whichever one you like better. Speaking of that community space, I noticed that I have access to it now. There are just over 9,000 of us at this point, and that's kind of giving me access to the space, which is really wonderful. And one other thing that I'm really excited about, and a goal of mine, is to be able to reach 10,000 subscribers. And while yes, growing and feeling supported by all of you is great, one of the reasons that I really also want this to happen is because if we reach 10,000, then we can start fundraising for nonprofits. And that is a cause that is near and dear to my heart, is helping other communities or communities at large that support mental health causes. So if you also want to be a part of this along with me, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I think about like 80% of the people who are continuously watching my videos are not subscribed. So if that is you, now is your cue. Just real quick click, just 2 seconds. Done? Great. So with that, let's go ahead and jump right into the video. It's a common experience for us to feel like we are in an argument loop with our partners. Like we're trying to talk through a particular issue or concern, but it starts to feel like the both of you are just going in circles, or the conversation turns more into an argument. We might not realize some of the things that we are engaging in that might not be helpful to trying to have a productive conversation. So today I'm going to share with you some of those things, some of these mindsets or behaviors that you might be engaging in, or that maybe your partner is engaging in, so that you can try to address some of these things. I'm also going to share how couples therapy works when it comes to these issues that might present themselves in communicating with your partner, mostly because I also know that when we think about couples therapy, it's kind of really hard to figure out, like, what are we supposed to do in couples therapy? Can it actually help? And, you know, maybe what are some places in which you can also try to get started on your own? So let's go ahead and talk about some of those mindsets that might be hurting your relationship when you're trying to have these productive conversations. Trying to win. Trying to win usually also sounds like and feels like wanting to be heard. So if you're in an argument or you're trying to figure something out with one another, you might have this really strong need to feel heard. Now, a trauma-informed and culturally aligned therapist might be able to help you, either individually or in couples therapy, figure out where that might be coming from. And if that is particularly activating for you, there might be a history of you not feeling heard or feeling seen. And that's why this is so important to you or to your partner. And again, this is not a bad thing. This is a very human need for us to want to feel heard and seen, especially by someone that we love and care for. The thing about it is that if it is too activating or too overwhelming, we become so focused on feeling heard that we also forget to listen. We end up interrupting or getting louder. We might not even be actually listening or present when our partner is talking, and we just go right back to what our point is. in couples therapy, something that we do is we practice, like actively practice how to listen to one another and how to then talk to one another. So you'll take turns being the listener and being the speaker. And we also practice some reflective listening, right? And reflective communication to double check that we've heard what that person is trying to communicate to us and not maybe some of the things that we were afraid they might be saying or think that they might be saying. I do also have a few guides that can help couples or individuals in communicating more effectively. I will leave links to those guides down below. You can go ahead and purchase and download them through my shop. That is not how I would react. So this kind of mindset or thinking of that's not how I would react actually comes from a well-meaning place. One of our initial instincts when our partner is trying to communicate to us how they're feeling based on an experience might be to try to empathize. And that's not a bad thing. We want to empathize with our partner. So then we ask ourselves, would I feel that way? Or how would I feel if I was in that situation? And sometimes, yes, that can be a pretty easy way to empathize, to say like, oh yeah, that makes sense because that's how I would feel too. But it's not the only reason that it would make sense. True empathy is allowing our partner to have their own experience of a situation. So even if we wouldn't respond that way or feel that way, it's okay. It's not about validating that experience as yes, it makes sense or it doesn't make sense, but really just listening that more than likely, due to their thought pattern, those dots do connect. Some of the ways in which we try to really build this like empathy muscle and understanding muscle without going into the that's how I would also feel realm is understanding childhood experiences. So you might notice that your couples therapist might actually see you individually and try to get a history of your childhood, or might be bringing that in or helping you bring that in to your couples therapy so that you can share with each other what your experiences have been. Remember that our childhood trauma might be playing a role in the way that we are, or more than likely is playing a role in the way that we are interacting with our partners. Nothing activates our like parent wounds, if you have a mother wound or a father wound, more than romantic relationships, because that's another relationship in which we are so completely vulnerable and might feel really flooded if that is being activated for us. So one of the things that you do in couples therapy is practice reflecting and getting insight, and then also listening to your partner about their experiences and their probably wounds that they might be sharing with you in a way that is non-judgmental. So yeah, that's a lot of work and definitely something that couples therapy is probably one of the best spaces to do it. Testing them. So testing them sometimes sounds like, I'm gonna wait and see if they figure this out. Now this can be either because you've already told them that this is important to you, or maybe you feel like they should already know that this is important to you. And just like all the other mindsets, they're not necessarily coming from a place of malintent, right? This is coming from a good place. You want to feel like your partner cares about you and loves you. And you're gonna know that they do that because they know what you need and are able to give that to you, right? You say like, if they do this thing, if they're able to do this thing, I know that they love me because they're actually either listening because I explicitly told them, or they're paying attention to all the little things that I do, and are then coming to that conclusion on their own. The thing about this mindset is that one, it's probably setting up your partner for failure. We usually come into the space of testing them because they have failed before, right? Or they haven't fully met our expectations in the past. If we're not able to like explicitly tell them that this is something that we need, we're setting them up for failure, right? We're not helping them anymore. And this goes into what the through line is of all of the points today, which is we're working against our partner, right? When we test them, or when we feel like we need to be heard, only us, right? We start to work against our partner instead of with them. And so if we really want a relationship to work, being very explicit about what you want and helping your partner through those moments and saying like, hey, this is one of those moments that I talked about. This is one of those situations in which I said I need this. please do it, can help our partner get there. Now, the other piece of this work is to remember that your partner also has to be committed to this as well, right? Testing them to see if they get there is also assuming that they want to get there. And sometimes that could be a really painful realization if it's not where our partner also wants to get to. We can be as explicit and as open and as communicative as we want to and can be with our partner, but it won't do very much unless our partner is also committed to doing the work, right? And is wanting to head in the same direction. And this is something that we do in couples therapy. We figure out, are the long-term goals in alignment? Are you both in agreement about where you want your relationship to go or what you want your relationship to look like? And if that is the case, then using all of the other tools that we talked about today, which is listening, speaking to each other more effectively, understanding each other's history and being more empathetic, right, with each other, so that you can problem solve together and truly come together as a team to head towards the direction in which you both agreed you wanted to head. Now, there are other mindsets and behaviors that might not be very helpful in relationships that I will share with you on Instagram and TikTok, so be sure to follow me there, mostly because I don't want this video to be like 30 minutes long. So I will go ahead and share some of those through my social media, so be sure to follow me for more. But I hope that these were good starting points for you to start reflecting on when it comes to maybe some of the difficulty that you're having in communicating with your partner. You know, again, if you're finding like it's just, we're trying to talk about something and it turns into an argument, it's just not working. Maybe some of the things are the things that are getting in your way that either you're doing or your partner is doing, or maybe both of you are doing or all of you are doing, depending on the structure of your relationship. That might make it a little bit difficult to feel like you're on the same page. Now, couples therapy is a wonderful space to learn a lot of this stuff. You get a lot of support in it. If you want some of my resources to find a therapist, if that's something that you're looking for, go ahead and check out my free resource list. It is available for download at my shop. It is completely free.